Welcome to the Base Path Podcast, brought to you by New England Baseball Journal. I'm your host, Dan Guttenplan. Today's guest is the newest coach at Brown, an Ivy League school in the Northeast, Frank Holbrook. Frank, thanks so much for joining me.
I appreciate you having us on. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so you just got hired last week, so it must be a pretty crazy time. What's it been like? What was the hiring process like? I know you were at Northeastern for 2 years and as an assistant. Probably with an eye on, D1 opportunities, maybe in the New England area. What was the process like for you? What kind of made you excited about this position?
Yeah, obviously being from Rhode Island, this was always a job that was on the radar as something that I would be, of interest. Going to Northeastern was a unbelievable opportunity for me professionally and just learning from one of the best coaching staffs in New England, seeing what that looks like and being a part of a great run there for those last 2 years. So when I heard about this opportunity arising, it piqued my interest. We were in the thick of our conference tournament and regional play when I first was reached out to by administration here. So was able to start those conversations through the thick of our season. Once we were eliminated the formal process of Zoom calls and then on campus followed suit. So I got off the plane back from Tallahassee from the regional and was on campus here a few days later, and everything just kind of flowed from there. So it's been a hectic couple months, but a great couple months too. So very excited about the opportunity here.
Yeah, and you were coming off such a great year at Northeastern, 49-11 record. There was a 27 game winning streak in there. A lot of guys, pro prospects, just had like great years leading in. But I want to go back a little bit. You went to Wheaton College, had a really successful athletic career there. And then you got your first head coaching gig at Rhode Island College. And over the course from 2019 to 2023, you had a record of 115-51. You really got that program established as one of the top D3 programs in New England. What was kind of the thought process when you left RIC to go to Northeastern? Were you kind of thinking you wanted to get to the D1 path to a head coaching position?
Yeah. Going back to Wheaton, I was able to play there as a student and had a great experience under Coach Podbelski. Played in the College World Series national championship game as a junior, and then was able to coach and go back as an assistant coach in 2017. We did a lot of our recruiting in the Rhode Island and Southern New England area and New England in general. And so when Rhode Island College opened up, it was a great opportunity for a program that maybe didn't have a ton of success or history with success there. But I knew the landscape of what we could do there. It had great facilities. I think from a cost standpoint, it was a very attractive place to a lot of student athletes to come and play baseball. And we were able to build that into a strong contender in the region, winning the Little East regular season and hosting the tournament my last year. So that was a great experience. And then through my last 2 summers at Rhode Island College, I was coaching the Newport Gulls in the NECBL, and we had 2 great summers there. And just being around those student athletes and that level of player was starting something that piqued my interest. And so as things developed through that 2023 summer, there were a couple opportunities that came up. But then when Coach Glavin, reached out for that unique opportunity right here in the Southern New England area, it was a no-brainer, right? So just wanted to go get some experience, learn from great coaches. Him and Coach Cobb have been there for over a decade now, and they've built one of the best programs, probably the best program in the region if you're looking at the most recent years. So it was a great opportunity to learn from them. It was a different role for me. I'd always been a head coach or a pitching guy, and I stepped into helping run the offense with Coach Glavin and Coach Bosco, and it was a great learning experience. I was exposed to some great players and a lot of resources and what it looks like at a high level Division I program. And then I knew that experience would help open doors like Brown if they presented themselves. And that's kind of how it played out. It played out much quicker than I thought. But it was kind of part of the decision-making process, like you mentioned, was to just get great experience, learn from great coaches, see what it looks like at the high end of Division I here in New England, and then, see what opportunities come my way from being a head coach and that type of thing.
Yeah, and it just seems like, I've done a few of these with other mid-major head coaches or coaches who either, maybe even moved from mid majors to go coach at like a Power Four as an assistant coach, just because of the way the college baseball landscape has changed over the last few years. Now with there's more NIL money, these top SEC programs or, have some more scholarship money to work with too, if they decide to spend it that way. Um, what is it about Northeastern, do you think, like through your experience, like you don't see guys transferring from Northeastern to go to, the ACC or the SEC schools, whereas you do see that at mid majors all across the country. What is it about Northeastern that makes guys want to stay there and, finish up their careers there, or their college careers there, I should say?
Yeah, I think it's, probably three pronged. I think, Coach Glavin, Coach Cobb, and the staff there, we were able to put a good product on the field, right, and really develop players. Guys are getting drafted. Mike Sirota drafted in the third round, Dennis Colleran in the seventh last year. Prior to that, there's multiple guys pitching in the big leagues as we speak, and more rising through the ranks of professional baseball. And I think if you look towards this draft, there's probably two, three, maybe four guys that are going to go this year. And I think the loyalty to the program, it's unique. I think, but like I said, the level of baseball, we were a top 20 program. Went toe to toe with Mississippi State in that tournament. They were able to win a game in the Tallahassee Regional, and I think the momentum there has been building for a bit. But to see those players stay, I think it's a loyalty thing. I think they're not being shied away from draft picks, right? They're going on, they're moving on, they're advancing in that sense of things. And then it's also a great university. They're getting a first class education, and I think when you look at those three things meshing together, it's a pretty unique place that, like you mentioned, doesn't really exist too much in college baseball, especially at the Division I in the Northeast level, right? So I think it's a very unique place. It's a special place, and I think that's why you see players not leave. When Brown, was an opportunity that presented itself, it's a little different in some ways, right? But I think there's a lot of similarities in that sense, where it's a great institution to go to school, right? You're getting an Ivy League degree here. And if we can build this baseball program into something where the players develop, compete for championships, and move on and have professional opportunities, it's the best of both worlds that I think it's a dying breed, right? It's pretty rare, but it's pretty special to be able to offer something like that. So I think there are some parallels, but I think Northeastern is the model in terms of what you're trying to do, from winning and keeping players and getting a great education at the same time.
Yeah, I remember talking to Brian Ham when he took the Yale job. And he had come somewhat of a similar background. He had been at the D3 Eastern Connecticut State University. They were just coming off a national championship, and he kind of had set up a little bit of a feeder system where guys were leaving ECSU to go to UConn when they had a lot of success there. It kind of also worked in reverse. If guys weren't getting much playing time, they would kind of bump down to ECSU. So it had really worked out there. But he was saying, the Ivy League schools, it's a completely different recruiting model. You're not getting as many NCAA transfers just because the admission standards are so difficult, and there's no graduate school option for Ivy League schools either. What do you expect the recruiting landscape to be like at Brown? Do you expect to kind of dive into the New England scene as much, or is it more of a national recruiting landscape?
Yeah, I think both. I think on the immediate side here now, as we're looking at lists and putting together who we want to see and who we want to get on campus for visits. We're well acclimated with this area, right? The coaches that I'm bringing on staff are from this area. I'm from this area. And so we have really good contacts in this region. And I think as you work through the region, you're able to see players multiple times. And I think that is a huge benefit in terms of, like you said, it's very selective here. We're not able to bring in a ton of transfers and big numbers in these classes. You have to be intentional with who you're going after. But you also need to know what you're getting, right? And so I think while we will branch out nationally and look to go nationally, we want to do a really good job in our backyard here in New England, where our contacts are strong and where we can see players play multiple times. So you know what you're getting from a competitive standpoint, what type of talent they have, but also the makeup and what they're going to bring to the table in the team setting. So I think both are going to be very important. I was down in Georgia this past week looking at, at a national tournament, looking at kids from all over the country. So we're definitely looking to branch out. We're building up our contacts. My phone, I feel like every day I'm saving 8 to 10 new contacts every day, which is awesome. So the outreach has been great. There's a ton of interest here, and now we got to do our job as a coaching staff to put a good product on the field so that national outreach is something that continues to grow for us.
Yeah, you mentioned the coaching staff. I was on the website, I think this morning, and it was just you listed, no assistants yet. What was the process like for rounding out a coaching staff? And is that something I would think it's something you kind of always have in mind when you're on as an assistant coach and you're kind of have your eye on head coaching openings, like who would I round out my staff with? How did you go about that process?
Sure. Obviously, there's always phone conversations you're having as you're getting down to the nitty gritty and getting on campus for those final round of interviews. You're starting to brainstorm, have conversations with people you really trust and like. And I'm very confident in the staff that we're bringing in. The jobs officially posted yesterday, so it's nothing is is a done deal yet with HR and all that stuff. But we know who we're bringing in. It's going to be a very strong staff. I guess so. You guys have the ability to edit this here. What you're gonna have to edit here. When is this gonna go out?
It could be tomorrow. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if you
I'll,
want to say anything
I'll,
today.
I'll stay away.
Yeah.
So I'll pick up where I left off. But yeah, we've had some really good conversations with some local folks who I trust and are very close to me, that have a lot of experience, from head coaches to associate head coaches, pitching coaches who have both been to College World Series, and we're excited to bring on some really strong coaches. I think the department here has made a commitment to giving us a little bit more resources, right, and being creative of how we can bring on strong candidates. So I'm very confident in the crew that we're going to bring in, and I think we're going to hit the ground running and build something that's sustainable here for the foreseeable future.
Do you feel like you're behind it all? Like I would think, I know there is a lot of coaching transition in the summer. But it seems like you kind of established like, that 2026 class is probably pretty well rounded out at a lot of schools now. A lot of times when there's a coaching change, guys are back, reopening their search. Where are you in terms of, bringing in that 2026 class? Are you ready to kind of move to 2027 on August 1st when you can start making contact with those guys? Like, where do you feel like you are, or are you playing catch up at all?
Yeah, there are zero commitments in the 2026 class, so we are full steam ahead trying to get that class going. We've had some great student athletes here on campus this week, and we're moving forward with going to see more. There's big tournaments coming up every week, and so our lists, there were lists that I brought over from Northeastern, right? I think at Northeastern, like you mentioned, we were able to move pretty quick after August 1st. As soon as you're able to contact people, start getting some commitments. So this class here is, yeah, we're working in it with a little bit of a different setting and makeup. But I was down in Georgia last week and talking to other Ivy League schools. It seems like they all have 3 or 4 commitments, and they're looking for another 3 or 4. So we're in the boat of looking for 7 or 8 in this class, and but it's exciting, right? I think there's a lot of opportunity. Some people develop later. Obviously the opportunity to go to an Ivy League school is unique. So there's a lot of attraction to that. We have a prospect camp coming up July 21st that's going to be geared towards the 2026 class, and players that we've seen and want to get on campus and get a closer look at and work with and get to know more. So that will be out soon for the public to see and sign up for. And then, like you said, the 2027 class is going to be something that we're starting to make our lists. We're starting to get geared up so that August 1st we can make those phone calls and hit the ground running with that class, and probably work a little bit more downhill with that class rather than catching up like we are in 26. But still think there's a lot of great talent out there that can come in here and help us. And like I said, we're excited to make contact with those kids and continue to grow our lists and put together a really strong 2026 class.
Netting Professionals is proud to be the official netting partner of the Cape Cod League and the New England Collegiate Baseball League. Netting Professionals is in the sports business of improving athletic programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals designs, fabricates, and installs custom netting, wall padding, windscreen, batting practice equipment, and much more for high schools, colleges, commercial facilities, and stadiums throughout the United States, while providing high-quality products and great service to numerous baseball programs throughout the New England area. To learn more and to speak to a Netting Professionals representative today, visit them at nettingpros.com. Remember, when it comes to netting, it's Netting Professionals.
Now, why do you have zero? Is that because of the coaching change, guys like decommitted, or is it because Ivy League schools just do it different, or was it the last coaching staff just did it later, or why is that?
Yeah, so when I got the job, they told us you have zero commitments in the 2026 class. I don't know if there were conversations with administration and that coaching staff to not commit anyone. I know they were talking to a lot of good players. You know, when I was down in Georgia, a lot of coaches would come up to me and say, "Hey, the prior staff was talking to XYZ." So, you know, you pick up some of those contacts and start to look at those guys too, because obviously there's interest from those students in Brown who've already been on campus and seen things. So we're working through our lists. Obviously, we want to see the players that fit into what our vision is and go from there. But yeah, I don't know if it was a coaching staff decision or just how it played out with the transition.
What is the vision? Like, what do you want the team to look like? What's the style of play? What's the kind of the pitching approach? You said you kind of have a pitching background and then have gone over to hitting in the last couple of years. Like, what do you want the team to look like?
Yeah, I think if you look on the mound here, when we're looking at our roster, there's some stuff on an arm talent on the mound right now here. I don't think we're in the zone enough. I don't think we play to the odds of baseball that great right now in terms of filling up the strike zone, attacking hitters, minimizing freebies. Obviously, we want to develop stuff and be able to punch guys out and be tough to hit, but we have to do the basics better now, right? I think if you look at the numbers from years past, we're just not playing the odds of baseball in our favor, right? There's too many freebies. We're getting into counts that aren't favorable, and then now crooked numbers are coming up. We have to get guys healthy. There's a lot of guys in this program that are dinged up in some different ways. So trying to get the current pitchers to be healthy, but we want projectable guys who can come in and develop, but also perform right away, right? We don't have the luxury of being aggressive with some things and people getting hurt and just grabbing transfers to fill the gaps. We have to be intentional with who we're bringing in. So we want to get guys who are competitive, who have experience pitching right away in big games, but also supplement that with guys with some upside who can maybe have higher ceilings and can develop into draft picks that may not be ready to hit the ground running their freshman year, but sophomore, junior year are big pieces at the front end of our rotation. So looking to take the model from what we did at Northeastern on the mound and at Wheaton and at Rhode Island College, where have had a lot of success with pitching, and continue to get them with our coaches and develop them into strike throwers who can punch guys out. Obviously we want versatility on the mound with different looks, right, left, with different slots, and be able to play matchups. So we're looking for some diversity on the mound in that sense. And then offensively, I think you look at Northeastern and what we did the last couple of years and what that offense has been doing for a while there. That it's very dynamic. It's relentless. They steal bases. We play small ball. We hit home runs. We hit doubles. We're tough with two strikes. We keep the line moving against top end pitching and wear them down, and really just want to be able to beat teams in a lot of different ways, right? Obviously, when you get to championship level baseball in conference tournaments and in the NCAA, you're going to be facing great teams with great pitchers, and you have to be able to do just about everything to find ways to win games, right? It's easy when you can get out there and put up crooked numbers and split gaps and hit home runs, but how can you beat a team when a guy's really good on the mound facing you, executing pitches? How can you, work his pitch count up? How can you get on base, hit and run, bunt for a hit, fake bunt steal, all those things that we did at Northeastern with our chaos offense that we want to bring over here and execute at a high level, right? Obviously, you need the talent to do it. So we need to recruit the type of athlete that can be versatile in those ways, but we want to be relentless and dynamic with our offense and be super aggressive on that side of the baseball.
Yeah, you mentioned you were already down in Florida looking at guys. July 26th, you mentioned, was a kind of a host day where you're going to have guys on campus with you. What does the summer look like? Like, what are the, all the high school parents and prep school parents always ask me, like, what are the tournaments we need to be at the summer to get recruited? Like, where are you going to be looking at guys? And I guess I've talked to other D1 coaches who do a lot of the recruiting now in these summer collegiate leagues, but I guess that's probably not on the table as much for you because you're not getting as many transfers.
Yeah, so the summer collegiate leagues, we can get transfers here at Brown. It is just a narrow window of time and has to be the right student athlete, right? So it's an Ivy League rule that they cannot transfer in here after June 15th. So with the portal opening up June 1st, not every school is the same in the Ivy League in terms of being able to admit transfers, but I've been told here we can admit them. We just have to work quick. So that June 1st opens up, and then we need to get them excited about Brown, applied, admitted, the whole thing before June 15th. So we have a 2-week window there next summer for everyone that is interested in Brown to work and work fast. But like you said, from the high school standpoint, that's going to be our bread and butter. There's a big tournament up here this weekend, the Boston Classic, Boston Open, it used to be called, where some teams from all over coming up here to play. We'll be down in Georgia for the WWBA national tournament. That's what I was at the 17U last week. The 16U's coming up, which is more 2027s. There's the futures games, the PBR futures games that brings in talent from all over the country. So we'll be at those senior games and the underclass games the following week. And then there's some national tournaments down there as well. So like I said, we've done a really good job covering our New England bases here early on here as we've been transitioning. And now we're going to be going out to a national type of approach over the next 3-4 weeks. There are some show ball opportunities head first. We'll be at those academic type of events. There's one in Boston next week, towards the end of next week, of 4 days, 2 different sessions. And then we'll be at some head first stuff as well down at Long Island in show ball, going out that way. So California's on the radar later in the summer for Due Day. We'll be going out to some of those events and different events like that. So there's a lot on the docket. It's just a matter of getting the coaches on board and certified to go out so that I don't have to do it all myself right now. But it's going well. We're excited and we have a good plan to go hit the ground running here.
Yeah. Yeah, you said it probably happened a little faster than you expected with just 2 years at Northeastern. I was wondering what Coach Glavin was like in the process. I saw the Northeastern baseball account, tweeted out congratulations to you, and seemed to be really supportive of your move. On one hand, I'm sure Coach Glavin wants to keep good coaches on his staff, when things are going so well right now. On the other, there is the professional development piece, and you do want to see people succeed beyond your program. What was kind of the support or, the level of interaction that you had with him when you were kind of weighing this option?
Yeah, it was, we've been very clear about it for years now, right? When he called 2 summers ago to talk about the position at Northeastern, I was lined up to go be a pitching coach in the CAA at a different school. And then he called and, I was like, well, I'm going to go do the hitters at Northeastern. Obviously from a program standpoint and family standpoint, my wife works in Rhode Island. She's in college athletics as well. So we didn't have to uproot the family. I was commuting from Rhode Island to Boston every day. So it was a little bit of a trek, but on the front end, I said, I'm a pitching guy. How does this help or hurt my career was one of my questions to him. And he said, listen, you're just coming in to get great experience. You're rounding out yourself with some different experiences on the hitting side now. And then as things open up over the next couple of years, you have to weigh your options. And if you want to be a head coach, there's going to be some great opportunities that come your way. Last summer, my wife and I had a baby. So that threw a little bit of a different view of things, right? In terms of, I want to be a head coach and be closer to home and be able to spend some more time. It's a hectic schedule. And so every hour counts, right? And so to be able to have this opportunity here in Rhode Island, it was, Coach Glavin was understanding. It made sense, I think, to me, to him, and everyone was on the same page with how good of an opportunity it was for me professionally, but also for my family and just kind of every side of the decision. So he was always supportive. He was a great mentor through those 2 years, and we've always talked about possible jobs and opportunities. And this one was a no-brainer that made a lot of sense for me, and he was super supportive through the process. So I wouldn't be here without Coach Glavin and the Northeastern program.
Yeah, that seems like kind of like a Matt Patricia New England Patriots move where you go from defensive coordinator to offensive coordinator. How difficult was it to make that change? Or do this is how I want to approach pitching, so this is how, hitters can respond and react to that? Or what was that process like for you to make that transition?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, well, first and foremost, they had an identity. They knew how they wanted to play. They had a track record of doing it. Coach Puccio was there before me and really developed that with Coach Glavin and the staff over there. Long story short, Coach Puccio coached me at Wheaton College back when we went to the College World Series. He was an assistant. So he's always been someone that I've kept in touch with. And through my years at Rhode Island College, we'd be on the phone every other day talking baseball, talking offense. I coached third base at Rhode Island College. We were always talking offense and just general baseball things. So I always had a feel for what Northeastern did and how they played. And then obviously once I got there and was able to look under the hood and the pieces of what they had in the offense, it was just trying to take what they do and see how we can improve it, right? And how I can add things to help. From a pitching, like you said, switching from pitching to hitting, I think the biggest thing that helped me was from a scouting standpoint was, we have all this technology and data that we have access to at Northeastern, and really just looking at pitchers from the other side of where their weaknesses are, where their holes are, and how can we expose them, right? So being able to look at the information and the data to really, eliminate their, really expose their weaknesses and kind of try to eliminate their strengths was the biggest thing, right? And then obviously we had the firepower to do it, and Coach Bob and Coach Bosco and I and the staff there, that they had a vision when I came in. It was just coming in of how we can improve it, how can we work with the players, get them individually better, and then how does it fit into the team aspect and what we're trying to do day in and day out. So learned a ton there. It wasn't that hard, to be honest. It was, I learned so much about that side of the baseball. And I say it wasn't that hard because of the vision that they already had, because of the style they already had in play, and then the talent that they had to work with, right? It wasn't hard to go in and deal with pro prospects left and right on the roster and shine it up to be a great team. So it was a lot of learning, but it wasn't, I don't want to sit here and say it wasn't hard, but it was kind of in place already, you know?
Yeah. I've always been impressed with Northeastern's, just kind of like the state of the program for like a mid-major in the Northeast. Like, facilities are great. The strength program with Jason Aguiar is really top of the line. Is there anything are you pretty satisfied with the way things are at Brown, or are there things like that kind of need an overhaul, like facilities, strength program, anything like that?
I don't know if I can really comment on the strength side of things or the staff that you work with day in and day out in terms of support staff, right? I'm starting to get to know everyone, but from a facility standpoint, you know, Northeastern has a great facility. It is shared, right? We have our own facility here, you know, beautiful turf facility with, you know, stadium feel to it, great space in the bullpens and down the lines with the cages. So from a field standpoint, it's as good as it gets. It's all you need. We have a stadium track man. We have a portable track man. Our indoor facility space is evolving. We have an indoor, like a track setting that's an older building called the OMAC, where there's a couple drop down cages, and that's where they typically have practice. But there's a $80 million facility, an indoor turf facility that's being built right now. That's going to be done in January. So it's going to be a state of the art indoor turf facility that we can use to prepare during the winter months, right? So that is something that's very exciting to me. They're redoing the varsity weight room, the strength and conditioning center here is total under renovation right now. And our athletic director has done a great job fundraising. You know, she's been here 5 years, and she's been able to have multiple capital projects that has really moved the needle in a good direction here from this facility standpoint at Brown. So we have everything we need to succeed. It's just about getting our hands dirty, getting the players to buy into our vision and the culture that we want to create that's going to lead to winning championships, right? So it's not going to be easy. Obviously Northeastern's the model, right? And that's what I said during my interview process here was, we have the blueprint of what it looks like. Now we got to get to work and create a vision, create a support, and create some value on campus so that we can get the support and that we need to succeed long term.
That sounds great. Well, I know you've got a heart out here, so I feel lucky to have gotten this much time with you. I know it's been a crazy whirlwind couple of weeks for you, but thanks so much for taking the time, and I wish you the best of luck in your new post at Brown.
Yeah, thanks for connecting with this, and I appreciate you getting this on your radar. So it's good stuff.
Right on. Well, thanks to Coach Holbrook for joining us on the Base Path podcast. Do us a favor and rate, review, subscribe to the Base Path podcast on your preferred platform. Our producer is David Yaz. The Base Path podcast is a Siemens Media production.